We are back, another day, another video. Vlog 15 on current plan. We've got 5 weeks left until we spice up things or take probably a few weeks off from push and intense. We'll see how it goes. So this week was all about a deload, all about resting, all about getting things in order for another big push in the last 5 weeks, because my last 5 weeks I plan to train pretty much 5 days a week, which I haven't done for a very long time. But those training sessions will predominantly be kind of a glycolytic depletion rather than anything else. So recovery should be fairly good as long as I get my food in. So body weight, fuck knows that. I have no idea how much I weigh because my scales are absolutely messed up. So, but if I go to any other place and weigh myself, it's around 120 kilos, 119, 120. At home, I can place my scales in one position and it will be 116 kilos. I move them slightly, it's going to be 120 something. So I do not trust my scales at all anymore. And that's why I don't track it anymore. And it was fun until it lasted, but let's be honest, who cares? So this week was all about resting, recovering. 3 days I had really good focus on sleeping. I had one training session early in the week, which was basically 100 kilo bench press. I did like 20 sets with that, and 100 kilo squats. I did around 20 sets with that as well. That was it. That was the whole training session. And all other things I had done this week was 2 massage therapies and a lot of walking, just getting out, not on a pavement and whatnot, but getting out in actual nature where no cars surround you, or just literally de-stressing yourself. And yeah, long story short, my deload weeks finished today, unplanned, just because I had 3 days of really good recovery score. And lo and behold, I went to gym today and my training session was so intense, so quick, so focused. I miss this kind of, how can I even say, efficiency of my body, because I had been running myself very intensely for, I think, 5 or 6 weeks without really proper break. So yeah, my body was definitely ready for a deload, and I probably should have pulled it a bit longer, but I'm gonna have 2 rest days after this. But today's training session was very short, well, very short in comparison. Let me pull it up. 1 hour and 14 minutes. I usually train 1 hour and a half, so 15 minutes down. Max heart rate only 158, 159, so which is fairly moderately low. Average heart rate 130. So I never really kind of didn't do anything, if that makes sense. So yeah, training session was intense. Training session was fast. I did tap in a very high heart rate at one point. So that being said, I did tend to recover really quick in between sets, and at the same time my timed recovery between sets was anything between 45 to 60 seconds. So hell of a lot of work done in hell of a short amount of time, and I came home and just passed out. Unplanned. I was thinking that I'm gonna come home, do some work and this and that, and I just found out myself asleep on the sofa, which hasn't happened for a very long time, and that was a good feeling. That was something that I expect going forward. So I probably will include some supplements for my recovery. I'm gonna, since the days are getting longer, I'm gonna start using some supplements in the morning, like coenzyme Q10 and some multivitamins, getting back in my supplement routine. I haven't used any supplements for a very long time, so I need to get some creatine. I've run out of creatine, and at night, as soon as it starts to get dark, I will start throwing in ashwagandha to just let me chill and relax. And I have found that alpha GPC tends to be quite good at the moment for my strengths-based training sessions, which are sometimes once, sometimes twice a week. So when I need to generate fast power movements, that's when I will be introducing probably 300 milligrams of alpha GPC. You can buy it over a counter, and it's very easily done. For some God knows reason, I think that a lot of people expect me to kind of glorify drugs. At the same time, there's not much to glorify. I don't change anything. All my things are exactly the same that they were at the beginning, and I don't plan to add anything or subtract anything, just because I feel, first thing first is, if you take too much of anything, it just harms you more than it helps you. Sometimes people, when they don't get results, they just think, oh, I need to take more of this. When in reality, you need to do less of something that's actually damaging and impairing your recovery. So I know if I was to take something that would improve my recovery and improve my God knows whatever the hell you people think it does, in reality, I would not be able to make a conscious decision of pulling myself back in my training sessions, which has always been an issue, even now. Like today, I had to take a rest day, but I still went and trained. So this is one of the reasons why I don't take pre-workout drinks and whatnot. At the moment, I'm doing some testing sessions on pre-workouts, but in reality, I never really take them because I'm fucking lunatic. I train regardless. So if I take something extra, it's a disaster waiting to happen. And it's just because it's part of me. I have made a conscious decision that when I train, I'm going to feel great. Even when I absolutely annihilate myself, that's just how I decided to feel. So, but yeah, going forward, I will be more meticulous with my supplementation. So vitamin D3 definitely at night, alpha GPC around training, probably before training, or after training. It doesn't really matter much because it just sits in you similar like creatine. So some antioxidants like your Q10. I was considering maybe NAC or TUDCA, but in reality, you don't need that much. And some of them are so overdosed because they have taken the amount of supplements that they prescribe as your preferred dosage, as something that they have taken from medical studies that have been done on people who have absolutely messed up their health. So for someone who's healthy, you don't need that much. So if I will use TUDCA and NAC, I'll probably be taking every couple of days because my diet is not absolute garbage. Like most people, still don't eat enough fiber, still don't eat enough greens, still don't eat enough fruit and veg. So every morning my day starts with a large bowl of oats, hell of a lot of fruit in it, some eggs for some choline, some brain power. I have added some salmon in my breakfast now, just to get some healthy fats in it as well. Then typically my day would consider with protein shakes right after training. Then I will have a large meal post-training, which can be anything. A lot of times it's just bloody chicken and potatoes. Something like Nando's. I usually have a lot of chicken. Like, I hate chicken, but if I have Nando's, that will be full chicken in one sitting. So, and late at night, it depends. Whatever I really crave. I try to stay away from carbs later in the day just because I don't want to feel inflamed. I don't want to feel like foggy because most of my work is done at evening. By 8 o'clock at night, I'm done. But at the same time, I don't want to have full-blown kind of pig out with heavy calorie intake at night just because I want to wake up hungry. And I don't want to resort to some kind of, I don't know, manipulation with drugs just to increase my appetite, which I know some people do with some SARMs and things like that. In reality, if your appetite is garbage, most likely it's stress related. 40% of people usually have a dampened appetite response to stress. Hell of a lot of people have increased appetite to stress. I am one of those people who are not particularly hungry at any point of my life. So I eat a lot just because I need to eat a lot, and not because I want to eat a lot. If I say I'm hungry, that is extremely rare, like very rare. And I just eat for the sake of eating, and that's not fun. That's why I don't really obsess with food. I'm going to start 5 intense weeks next week. well, I started session today just to see how it feels, but I'm taking 2 days off after this session, and that's predominantly because I'm doing all my online check-ins and on my online work. And on to some questions which are following. What do you do on your rest recovery days? Well, I try to move a lot, because on rest recovery days it's misconceptions that you just sleep, which doesn't recover or rest really anything. Yeah, sleep is important, but if that sleep is not deep sleep or REM sleep, you're just wasting your time. If you're just snoozing about in a bed, rolling all over the place, that's not recovery-based sleep. And you're better off in sticking to routine, even if you don't train. Just getting up early, going out, exposing yourself to the sun, making sure you try to get some kind of nature kind of setting, and eat in similar times. Most of the time on rest days, I don't eat early, whereas usually I will get up around 6, I'll have around breakfast around 6 o'clock. Then my second meal is around, I do believe, 11ish, close to 12. So it's nearly 4-hour gap, because my first meal is like 2,000 calories. And then another 2 meals, so I eat just 4 times a day. But yeah, so for rest and recovery days, it will be either doing absolutely nothing and going out for walks. Sometimes I kind of try to switch off from all kind of work as well. Just because you don't do anything in the gym doesn't mean you are not taxing your body and taking away from physical recovery. So if you are not going to gym but doing extremely mentally draining job, it still impairs your recovery. So be aware of that you kind of need to balance it out. If you do a heavy training session in a gym and then go and work on some kind of project that's extremely stressful, you're not going to get most out of your training sessions, and maybe you need to pull back on your training sessions that you don't need to recover from it as intensely, just because you have restriction in how much time you can spend of actually being self-aware of not doing anything that taxes your body, which is thinking as well. I understand a lot of people are fucking brainless and they don't have that kind of issues. They don't need to recover their brain, but mine, I believe, is fairly taxed every single day. So I need to be careful about that. And you need to figure out what works for you. This is why I track everyone's heart rate, resting heart rate, HRV, blood pressure, all those kind of things, and try to plot along few months and try to get a bigger picture about how you respond to whatnot. Just a couple of days ago, I had a talk to one of my guys, and he was starting to develop side effects which are usually often related to drug abuse. But I know he's not abusing any drugs. And another thing that's related to this particular issue is stress. And then we started to talk about it, and he's like, yeah, I have been stressed about last 4 weeks minimum. So it was just a massive build-up of stress-related issues, and he's taking the rest of the week off. That's simple as. So that will be his stress recovery management. Mine is just staying active, because I'm fairly large, and if I don't move a lot, then all the waste product that's created in my body from the training is going to just stick there, so if I train my legs heavy and then just sleep on my bed for next 2-3 days, my legs are not going to recover as good as they can if I go out for a walk and actually flush the blood out, deliver new nutrients, deliver oxygen, do some nasal breathing to really oxygenate my blood. So whereas for someone much smaller than myself, they get away with just sitting on a sofa and sitting behind a desk and feel completely recovered. So another question, childhood upbringing and what led you in this industry? I believe industry is meant fitness, because that's the most thing I talk about. I don't really talk about much else on social media, what I do, but it was very little to do with childhood upbringing, to be honest. I landed up in what I do now by coincidence, by people that I know always asking me questions and always prodding me, why don't you go and work in a gym? Why don't you train people? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And I'm like, oh, I like heavy manual labor work, that's why. So like I could literally live on for rest of my life. I could happily drive around on a bloody forklift track and do absolutely jack shit to related to fitness and be happily ever after. But I know that kind of life limits my ability to help anyone. So, and at the same time, that was pretty much on. That's when I started to enjoy what I do, because at the beginning I did it only for the sake of doing, as it was so extremely easy for me. So everything I was doing, because from a childhood in a school where I come from, you were taught about protein, you were taught about heart, you were taught about fitness, how important it all is, how important it is to stay stress-free, how important it is to eat well, how important it is to exercise and whatnot. So any kids that I know has gone through a basic training at like age of 10, which in UK is classed as level 3 PT, which I found extremely amusing, to say the least, that you have to pay thousands of pounds just to get qualified as level 3 PT, and you have literally less knowledge than kids in a country I come from. So, but yeah, childhood upbringing, I believe there is coincidence as well to being kind of raised in a Soviet Union type of setting in school, where physical power was very highly rated. You could not graduate school if you were not attending 3 hours of physical activity a week, and you were graded by that. You could not just show up and fuck about and then, yeah, you're great, that's it, you passed. No, you had to know how to play basketball, you had to know how to do gymnastics on bars, and so on and so forth. This is why I still do so many weird things in the gym. It's just from my childhood, something that's drilled in me and something that stayed with me, something that I have seen people being debilitated by because they steer away from that. So often people say, oh, I'm old now, I can't move this, I can't move that. And I keep asking them, when was the last time you tried to move like that? Oh, when I was 20, when I was 15, when I was God knows whatever age. And lo and behold, you can't do something that you have never done. You know, if it doesn't matter how fucking old you are. We had a guy who was, I believe in his late 60s or early 70s, who was training us how to grapple. And he was the most agile human being I've fucking ever known. And that was because he never stopped training. Like, he didn't moan that I am getting old. No, he just kept moving all the time. He was looking after his health, he was staying hydrated, eating well, not stressing about anything, and so on and so forth. So when people say I'm getting old and this is aching and that is aching, it's because, first of all, you're overusing yourself. You're just not recovering. You're just doing so many stupid things because you do more. You think more is better, but it actually isn't. When the more advanced you are, the more meticulous you need to be with your rest. And second thing is that you need to take into account that everything not related to physical activity is also impairing your recovery. So you can go to gym, have the hardest training session, and then have your sleep, and then have your food. But if you don't realize that if you go to work and you stress about whatever the hell happens at your job or in your family and whatnot, that type of stress is taken away from your ability to recover from physical stress, then you're not giving yourself a fighting chance. This is why I say that you need to track everything what you do and mix and match your physical and mental stress to make sure that your recovery for both is sufficient. You can't just do one and ignore another. That's not how everybody works. So, but yeah, so childhood upbringing was probably my family. Nobody drank in my family. My dad packed in drinking and smoking when my brother was born. And he was very physically empowering figure. Yeah, you wouldn't want to argue with my dad. He would just bloody break your skull. And yeah, that probably kind of rubbed on me that I just thought, you know what? He was something I was always looking up to. He was physically strong, mentally extremely durable. I don't like... people were very intimidated by him. At the same time, he was the most polite person you can imagine. Like, he would sometimes put up a suit and go shopping. Like, how many people do it now? They would literally dress up to go buy a loaf of bread. So he had physical prowess and still got fair amount of style with it. So, yeah. So I never looked up to people who were going around smoking and drinking and swearing and sleeping around and whatnot as something I would want to be like. That's why I never went that way. Whereas most of the guys, all they see now is these grown-up figures that are just assholes, and they kind of steer that way. I want to be like them because they think these people are, I don't know, someone in their communities that others look up to, when in reality they might be intimidated, might even fear of them, but everyone knows they are fucking dickheads, and I never wanted to be a dickhead. So I might come across like one, but it's just because I don't care about anyone's opinion, because why would I? If I start being paranoid about what everyone thinks, about what I do and how I think, I'll never be able to grow. And that to me is much more important than someone's opinion about me. And lo and behold, if you don't understand me from where I come from, you are not ready yet to communicate with me. And that's as far as it goes. So, moving on, another question. Can you have shakes as your meal? This is a tough one. Yes and no, but why the hell would you? A lot of processes are being bypassed if you don't really digest your food through chewing it, because there are some enzymes released when you actually chew the food. This is going to sound probably weird, but if you go to the toilet and you see that food is still not digested, it's because you probably was force-feeding yourself and just rushing through it. And this is when you start making these comments that you eat hell of a lot of food and never grow. When in reality, your gut health is just messed up because you are thinking about calories rather than nutrients for the results you're after. I encourage all my guys to have like a protein micronutrient smoothie. It's easy to digest, but predominantly because they don't eat the way I would prefer them to eat. And a lot of them are very extremely busy. That's easy way how to get those antioxidants in you, still get your micronutrients and vitamins and all those kind of things. But don't swap your meal for the shake just because you think you need to get calories in. Figure out how to improve your appetite, reduce the stress, improve your hydration, have set times for your meals, and plan your days around your food. I know it's going to sound horrible, but people keep saying, oh, I can't stick to diet. Well, what you are doing now is sticking to some kind of routine. And if you don't have results you want, that means your routine is absolute fucking shit for the results you're after. Change your routine, which sometimes mean figuring out when to eat, what to eat. How often should you do cardio? Well, you don't need to do anything, let's be honest. But staying fit and healthy is extremely important to improve your ability to be better. Not just physically, but mentally as well. So, when I was growing up, how can I even say? I was never looking up to Arnold as an epitome of strength, power, and whatnot. At the same time, he was at the back of my mind because he started doing bodybuilding shows with powerlifting, with weightlifting, and he was one of the strongest in his country at his time. So my inspiration was Mariusz Pudzianowski, whilst everyone looking at bloody skinny Zays who's popping pills, and obviously he's dead now, but it was just taking shitloads of drugs and looked like there's like 60, 70 kilo off him, but he was shredded and he was aesthetic and this and that. But the guy's dead from drug abuse. And then you have Mariusz Pudzianowski, 136 kilos, I believe. He was just over 130 kilos when I first met him. Well, I only met him once. And I stood for him I'm here as far as the camera is from me. And it was ridiculous. So he came to Latvia to compete. And he was shredded inside out. And although he was one of the lightest guys in the competition, there was like Big Z at 200 kilos and Robert Bergmanis 170 or 60 kilos. So there were quite fair amount of let me rephrase, a certain amount of people that were much heavier than Mariusz Pudzianowski. Pudzianowski was always one of the lightest guys, but he dwarfed them just with his presence. You could literally see that he usually came one of the last ones out because he was the world's strongest man. So everyone's coming out and lining them up with their flags and holding their hands up and whatnot, and you just look at them, Jesus Christ, these men are fucking ginormous. And then you have this small man, when you look on a paper, walking out, and they all just go, their hearts sank when they see him walking out. Fucking striated chest, bloody veins on his abs, veins on his legs and everything. Walks out and everyone's face just drops because they knew they are coming in for a second place. He would absolutely annihilate them. That was my inspiration. I never perceived that being strong means being fat. That's something that stuck with me because Pudzianowski was so physically empowering that they started to take out events that were moving events, like your truck pulls, your Conan's wheels, and all those kind of things. They would take them out from competitions altogether, just so he don't win, because he was so overpowering in the fitness portion of the strongman. So, do you need to do cardio? No, you really don't. But does it help? Yes. And when you start looking into history, digging through every single athlete who has been extremely physically powerful and big, even if they didn't do that kind of fitness style training, when they were getting to the strength levels, they had a background that was predominantly physical fitness based. Either football, basketball, some track and field. A lot of strongest guys come from a wrestling background where your fitness needs to be ridiculously high. So ignoring that aspect just because you have full gym and social media of knobheads who say don't do your cardio because it's going to lose your gains is just stupid. But if you want to stack up the lines with those people who die in their 30s, 40s, yeah, be my guest and let's be honest, you do what the hell you want to do. But if you are not ignorant to what's actually happening, what's real, what's not, you will soon acknowledge that, shit, I need to do my fitness, I need to do my cardio. Stop chasing that body weight increase at the expense of your health. Because let's be honest, what's the point of gaining that body weight if you feel like walking death? And I've been there. That's not fun. So, I'm not going to drag this out. I usually end up talking way beyond, and I'm gonna answer some questions next week as well. But yeah, on that note, I'm gonna finish it up. We got 5 weeks of hard push, and we'll see where we end up. I still look as though if I trained, which is not surprising. If you train like an athlete, you're gonna look like one. And yeah, I feel great. My health markers are the best they've been at this body weight. For certain, not the best they've been ever, but 120 kilos, being as fit as I am now and being as mobile and recover as quick as I can do now is fucking amazing. So definitely stop ignoring your fitness, stop ignoring your mobility work, stop ignoring all the small little things to strengthen your body and prevent it from getting injured, because you only have one chance. And if you mess it up by trying to grow as big as you can, as early as you can, as forced as you can, you will only regret that. And yeah, might sound like some kind of moronic pep talk that, or don't do this, don't do that, but in reality, focus on your recovery more than you focus on your training, and make sure you find someone who can help you to achieve what you want to do, instead of wasting years and years and years and years and years of trying to get some cheap, maybe even free advice from people who are not eligible to give you any kind of advice. Reach out to someone who actually knows what the hell they're doing, and someone who values what you think you will value in next 10, 20, 30 years from now, not in just 6, 12 or 18 weeks from now. On that note, I'll leave you be and speak to you next week.